It is Tuesday, May 30th, and the Give and Go Show is back in your life. My name is Griffin Queen, and as always, I'm joined by Matt Modi and Matt Ferentinos.
What's good?
As of last night,
Yeah,
Yep.
2 nights
last
ago.
night.
As of last night, okay. I'm losing
It's
track of
weird
time.
because the
We're
game
coming
ended
off
so
of
early.
we're coming off of Memorial Day weekend. The game did end a little bit early, but as of last night, the Miami Heat have punched their ticket to the NBA Finals, and they're going to be taking on the Denver Nuggets. I
Heat
think that one's going to be
culture.
starting in a couple days.
Tuesday.
Before we get going with the episode,
Or
we're going
sorry,
to talk a
Thursday.
little bit.
hmm
Yeah,
Starting Thursday.
yeah,
That's what I meant,
Thursday,
yeah.
right? The first, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Before we get going with previewing the Heat and the Nuggets taking each other on, before we talk a little bit about our funerals for the Lakers and the Celtics, may they rest in piss.
At least one of them.
Just make sure you're liking the video. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you subscribe if you have not done so already, and comment below who you think is going to win the finals between the Heat and the Nuggets. And if you want to go even a little bit further, say how many games you think your preferred team is going to win in. If you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, as always, make sure you click that follow button if you haven't done so already, and rate and review us if you have not done so. 5 stars would be preferable. Otherwise, don't leave us a review.
Shout out to my
That's
favorite
it.
comment
What's
so
up?
far just my favorite comment that I read on the internet so far about this series is Nuggets
Sure.
versus Heat. It sounds like my microwave.
I
And
believe
that
that
one
was
really
your
got
favorite
me.
comment. People have been making like heated Nuggets jokes for a little bit about
Yeah.
how this is like the ideal matchup for any for Uber Eats and McDonald's and all those other things, because they're gonna have so many
Oh
people
my
late night
God,
ordering
yeah.
food.
I feel like there's a joke you can make about like Heat culture and then like Jokic culture, which is probably just eating chicken nuggets. Like there's
Yeah,
probably a joke you can
eating
make
chicken
there.
nuggets, dreaming about his horses, talking about how basketball is not something he's particularly passionate about.
Yeah, eating a whole tub of ice cream. And then there's like Heat
Yeah,
culture, which is like we're all going to be built like Greek gods. That's
Well,
our culture.
I
yeah.
was gonna say I forgot though. I just watched a video on like because the NBA memes pages have been so amazing since last night and the Celtics losing.
Yeah.
But
Anytime the Celtics and the Lakers, even as a Lakers guy, anytime the
yeah,
Celtics and the Lakers lose, meme culture gets to its absolute top level.
it was the Morris brother was on the Heat at the time when he really cheap shotted Jokic, and I forgot that was like Nuggets Heat and like
And then
Butler
Jokic
was getting
cheap
And
shotted
then
heated.
him.
Oh
Jokic
yeah,
potentially
Jokic turned
ended his
around and
career.
Yeah,
fucking
like broke his
destroyed
neck.
him. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, broke his neck. Well, come on.
I
I mean,
think
like
it's well deserved what happened to him. Like he cheap shot at the fuck out of Jokic.
We talked about this on
Yeah,
one of the recent episodes about
I
how, look, like what Jokic did, not an okay thing. But if you're gonna do it to anybody and have a lot of people defending you, doing it to one of the Morai twins is probably the best way to
that
do
is
it.
true. Jokic has like as beloved as he is, has a lot of like not a
There's
lot, but
some
like
shit there.
yeah, he did the one against Cameron Payne where he basically just punched him because he was pissed.
Yeah. He
And then
that was his the story on him prior to like 22 or so. Honestly, maybe even prior to just this season.
we see like
Was
lose his
if you get
cool.
him frustrated, he's gonna hard foul you. And a lot of times it's gonna be a flagrant. And like
Yeah.
that's a big part of how the Lakers beat them in 2020 was get Jokic frustrated, get him fouling AD or Dwight or whoever it may have been that was on him, get him in foul trouble, and then like once he falls apart, the rest of the team does. We'll talk about that in a
he
little
really
bit.
should be like the guy. Have you guys seen that Adam Sandler movie, the basketball guy? It's
Hustle.
like basically,
Hustle.
yeah, it's like if
Yeah.
Jokic was just that guy. I could see him
Yeah.
balling with like Tim's on,
Yeah.
Who was that? It wasn't
Hernan
Vaughn
and he
Gomez.
gets
Toscano.
angry and wants
Yeah,
to foul
yeah,
people.
yeah. Hernan Gomez.
Yeah,
That's who it
yeah,
was.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean that movie makes him seem like he's a way better player than he is. Which also, like the fact that he was doing the stuff in that movie, like double dribble, like
Yeah.
dribbling with 2 balls through traffic and all that, I'm like, oh yeah, like even the worst NBA player is incredible at the game of basketball.
There's nothing more staggering than watching like Spencer Hawes warm
I
up
bet
and he makes
Sure.
15 straight 3-pointers. And you're like, oh,
Yeah.
these people are just like, he's a bad NBA. Well, I mean, he was fine. Whatever.
Dude, you could
I was
watch
gonna
like
say,
Dwight Howard warm up
Yeah.
and hit like 10 straight threes and be like,
Even
oh, so this guy's like strokes threes, and someone will be like, no, he's taken one in his NBA career and
yeah.
he's bad at them.
Even Ben Simmons when he warmed up wasn't like he didn't miss every single shot. He was like shot like a more normal person, and that's like the worst shooter in NBA history.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many levels to this shit that like the worst NBA player. I mean, who is it? The Red Mamba, or the White Mamba?
oh,
Excuse
Brian
me.
Scalabrine.
Brian Scalabrine talking about how he's closer to Michael Jordan than we are to him. And it's like,
which is
that's
true.
accurate. That's
Yeah.
very accurate, because there's
That is
videos of
true.
The
him
videos of him
beating the
just
shit out
taking
of
on
D1
anyone.
players.
Yeah, he's like,
Yeah,
I'll
when
go
he's in his
one-on-one against
40s.
anybody, and he just
Yeah.
fucks everybody up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible. I
I
want
was
to
gonna
talk
say
since
that.
we
No,
go
you're good.
ahead.
You're good. You're good.
We
No, I was
didn't have
gonna
an
make a
episode
Jaylen Brown
last
can't
week.
make the.
Don't tell me I'm good and then start talking again.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Last week we didn't have an episode, and I apologize for that, because you guys deserve to have the opportunity to shit on me for my Lakers getting swept in 4. I think we were all kind of coming off of what I imagine were pretty long weeks, and there was a lot going on last week. I want to open the floor to the two of you to say whatever it is you'd like to say about the Lakers, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, D'Angelo Russell, Darvin Ham, Rob Pelinka, whoever it may be, the ghost of Kobe Bryant. I have a lot of thoughts on that Lakers loss, and I do want to talk about them a little bit. But if there's anything you've been waiting to say to me now that I've now been brought down to your level, that of losers, you can say it now.
Well, as fans of team that lost in the first round and then lost in the second round, I don't really think that we have a leg to stand on to roast you specifically for them getting to the conference finals.
I agree.
I mean, like, that series was a sweep. I don't think any of the 4 games were like a blowout to my knowledge. Like game 1, the Lakers came back and made it a game at the end. If LeBron makes that game tying 3, like, who knows what happens. Game 2 was like the Lakers were winning by 12, and then the Nuggets were winning by 12, and the Nuggets came back. And then 3 and 4 were like close. So it was like kind of crazy. It was a sweep that none of the games were like were a blowout to my memory. I mean, you know better than me, but like, that's kind of my like lasting thoughts. Is like, in the record books, it goes down as a sweep, but then like when you actually watch it, it's like, no, those were all close games.
Well, I mean, that's correct. Game 1 is the closest one I think we could say that would have been a blowout, except the Lakers did stage that late comeback. They were losing that game by a
3-pointer away from tying it.
They were losing badly for the majority of that game. They had a great fourth quarter rally. The Nuggets stopped them in time. LeBron didn't have his legs under him. But, you know, people have been talking about it, and Ferentinos is going to remember this pretty well. This is shades of Nets Celtics 2021. The Celtics swept that series, and I think they won that series. Was it last year that they swept them? 2022?
Yeah.
Yes. It would have been. Yeah. It must have been. They swept that series, and I think they won that series by a combined 14 points or 15 points. The Lakers
Claxton
lost.
couldn't make free throws.
Yeah, they had the game winner.
A lot of stuff that fell apart at the end.
The Lakers lost this series by a combined 24 points, which, I mean, there's games in the Eastern Conference Finals that teams lost by more than that. The Celtics lost a game to the Heat by 30 points. So 4 games that, like, the level of talent disparity and gameplay between these two teams was not what you would expect from a sweep. But at the same time, like, it's just like everyone's been joking about, moral victories don't mean shit.
Yeah.
If this was the 2020 Lakers, they're going to the finals right now, but it's not the 2020 Lakers. Like, the Nuggets are the better team. LeBron is old. LeBron is injured. Anthony Davis didn't show up offensively. D'Angelo Russell was through 3 games, minus 53, I think, on the box plus
so
minus.
Bad. What are you gonna do? You gonna pay him?
You pay him. You got to pay him. You don't. It doesn't open up. It doesn't open up a spot if you don't pay him. It's the same thing that the Celtics are going to have to deal with Jaylen Brown. Obviously, Jaylen Brown is a better player than D'Angelo Russell, but he's going to cost more money than D'Angelo Russell.
Yeah.
But if you don't pay him, it's not like you get a mid-level exception or something like that you would use to replace him with. It just means that there's one more guard spot on your roster that you got to fill with a minimum guy.
Still, I mean, like, that's like the dumb. I'll never understand the NBA salary cap, but it's like, it's not as though like, oh, you don't sign him for 40 million. Now you have 40 million to spend elsewhere. It's the same thing the Sixers have with Harden that I don't really understand. It's like, you lose the asset and you're like, and then you're just toast. There's like nothing you do to replace him. But I don't know.
Essentially, if you're already over the cap, and I don't know if you need to be into the luxury tax or you just need to be over like the soft cap. If you lose a player, even if it brings you under the cap, you do not get that cap spot back.
Yeah.
Because you have to like reset your salary essentially entirely to get that back, which is why these guys, at least they used to, collect expiring contracts, although that's not really the case anymore because now there's like no value to expiring contracts. Everybody just wants like second round picks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, I think D'Angelo Russell is a good fit for the team in the regular season. And I'm not going to pretend like D'Angelo Russell did not legitimately win then some games in the playoffs. There's games 1 and 6, I think, of both the Warriors and the Grizzlies series. He
He
had
was
between like
huge in game
20
one
and
against
30
the
points
Warriors.
in
Yeah.
all of those games. So, you know, he was awful against the Nuggets, and he definitely contributed to them to losing against the Nuggets. They might not be there if he's not there. So with D'Lo, you kind of got to take the good with the bad, and you hide him as much as you can. But I'm tentatively optimistic for next year, and you guys might disagree with me on that one because LeBron is going to be a year older.
Yeah, it's just about health. Like, I mean, not that they were healthy this past year, but Anthony Davis and LeBron going to miss a combined like 50 games again, if not more. It was such a weird Lakers team because like they went on that run at the end of the season to get to the 7th seed when LeBron was hurt, but like I guess just because they're older and they don't really have like microwave scoring, but it never looked that impressive. There were like some incredible AD games where he was like amazing, and LeBron obviously needs surgery on his foot, so like that's a thing. But visually, it never looked that impressive. So I was always like, I mean, I thought they were going to beat the Grizzlies. I didn't think they were going to beat the Warriors, and I definitely didn't think they were going to beat the Nuggets. But
they needed Lonnie Walker to bail them out in the fourth quarter of one game. I mean,
that was the Warriors one,
Lonnie Walker, 15 straight points, no misses in the fourth, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, but you were saying we got to give Ferentino his credit. We may have already done this on an earlier episode.
6 man of the year.
He said when Lonnie Walker was hot at the beginning of the year, he was like, "That's a 6 man of the year candidate." And then he was sitting on the bench for 3 months, which means that there was no minutes on his legs. So you know,
I feel like he always had flashes on the Spurs. He always looked like he could break out, like
super athletic. And when his shot is falling, his shot looks gorgeous. He's got a really good touch around the rim. He's got a lot of different ways to finish. His defense, you know, just by virtue of being an athletic guy, is good sometimes. But it's like when he's not locked in, he's just as bad as D'Lo. Like it's a guy who's just going to chuck up shots and really not know what to do on the court.
Which is why I just don't think D'Lo's a good culture fit there, because like I feel like defense is still your identity as the Lakers, and like he's just his demeanor just like looks like he doesn't give a shit and is not trying. And I think that's just his general like kind of just
that's
the way
vibe.
He carries
that's
himself.
What happens when you have that's what happens when you have ice in your veins, man. Like you're just gonna be gonna be moving a little bit slower.
It definitely
never
looks
need
cool
to care
when
about
you're
anything.
hitting shots and doing shit, but then like it's like the anti Jimmy Butler, where like Jimmy Butler, if he gets beat or has a shitty shot on one end, will like chase and at least try to get the rebound, or will like strip Jaylen Brown, but that's not that hard apparently because he can't really dribble.
7 turnovers last night, 8 turnovers last night,
7 or 8, I think. But the one when he just got stripped from behind, which I think happened twice to him, like Jimmy just it was crazy. Just watching him pick his pocket like that. You feel like you always get called for a foul because like people are always smacking hands and it's always a reach in, but no, that was
most guys go top to bottom when they're trying to steal the ball. Jimmy Butler goes bottom top, just like Kawhi Leonard does. They both come from under or they come from the side, and that's how they teach you to do it. But it's just so much harder to try and get a steal that way because basically you have to time the dribble instead of just watching the ball. Mm-hmm. Jimmy Butler and Kawhi Leonard are incredible at that, and they both have just stupid, massive hands. Like,
you need quick hands and you need massive hands.
You need quick hands and you need massive hands. You need to be an athletic freak, and I know Jimmy doesn't have the reputation as an athletic freak, but the dude absolutely is. Like,
it's because he's got like dinosaur arms. That's why he's not thought of because he's got such short arms.
The Heat love those guys. That's why they got Tyler Hero with those too. I mean, he's not playing, but they love their short arm kings.
Yeah.
Who's the guy from Memphis that like looks like that? They should get him on their team.
Desmond Bane.
Desmond Bane, yeah.
Desmond Bane has biceps that are like
straight up
bigger than
looks
most
like
people's
he has
torsos.
dinosaur arms.
Desmond Bane is like Eric Bledsoe if Eric Bledsoe was good at basketball.
Yeah, because that's what it is.
Like,
his biceps are so huge, but his like forearms are small. So then it's just like it really looks like.
I think that's anti Popeye.
Yeah. It's an interesting look. Anything else you guys want to say about the Lakers? I do want to. I want to know what you guys think they're going to look like next year. I am interested in, as somebody outside of the Laker bubble. Do you think that they're a playoff team? Do you think they're a contender? Do you think that they're going to be another play-in team? Ferentinos, you seem like you have thoughts.
I would say I'm just more interested to see, like, because all the news that came out when Melo retired, Carmelo Anthony also announced his retirement, was that LeBron also is thinking about stepping down. Like, do you think that's almost like
he's not
a way?
He's shaping the media conversation.
Yeah.
because I mean, obviously it's Lakers bias, it's LeBron bias, but look at how quickly the discussion shifted from the Lakers and LeBron got swept to is LeBron retiring? Should we start talking about his career as like an overarching narrative? It was
Yeah.
like within like 3 hours, it had changed.
I think it kind
Smart
of goes
guy.
by like next season, LeBron's focus and health. I think if it's health, like if he's rehabbing and just like doesn't want to really ramp it up, I don't know how much. And also with like Anthony Davis, can Anthony Davis carry them in the regular season if LeBron is like playing reduced minutes and trying to get healthy? And then obviously that's Bronny's freshman year at USC, and then the draft's going to happen. So I feel like it's going to be a lot of kind of where LeBron goes after next year. So that's why
Mhm.
I don't really know if it's more of like we need to win now versus I'm just trying to get through the season. But I think it's really more on like LeBron's health and then Anthony Davis. I think they've done a good job kind of building the guys around them. They have to sign Austin Reeves, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, they will. They've
So like,
committed to bringing back Austin Reeves, to bringing back Rui
but Rui,
Hachimura.
I think
I
Rui
think they'll
also,
probably
yeah.
try and bring Vando back because he was so big for them defensively.
Mm,
I honestly don't expect a ton of roster turnover going into next year. What's his name?
which,
Lonnie Walker will not be there because he's going to get paid.
yeah.
Who else will not be there?
But if that's what
D'Lo,
I'm saying, if
Kyrie
you have
signing
this
trade.
Dennis
roster,
won't be there probably because he's going to get a bag. Like some of the
mm,
best players on that team will not be there, and they're going to have to try and find minimum guys to replace them. But at least a few of the major contributors will still be there.
but yeah,
I think
if you look at the roster since the trade deadline and then like their record and then getting to the Western Conference Finals, even, I mean, I think the Lakers are definitely in that like 4 to 7 seed range for next year if LeBron is healthy and AD's playing well and they keep the same roster more or less with just a few vet replacements. But I think it's going to be another time where just like anything can happen. Bob Meyer stepped down for the Warriors, so like they're going through some
Huh?
changes. The Suns, I mean, if they could get their act together, but I think they're going to be a hot mess again. Like, I think a lot
I
of
agree.
teams going into the playoffs are like the Mavs, Suns. It's like, oh, they're going to figure it out. They got superstars. Like, the Mavs are like, fuck the playoffs in general, which was shocking. And then the Suns kind of fell apart. So, I mean, the Celtics are in that space. The Sixers are kind of like, I feel like there's a lot of question marks. Like, this offseason is going to be crazy, but I'm looking forward to the finals. I'm excited to see, I think, Jokic get a ring.
There are a lot of aging good teams. Like there's a lot
Yeah.
of players that are aging out of the NBA or aging out of superstar status right at the same time. So that is going to be very interesting to see. What's I going to say? Oh, I think before we get Modai's thoughts, I think we're coming up on, or we're there for this coming year on LeBron's first missed All NBA since I guess his rookie or his sophomore season,
He
because
didn't make
I don't see
13.
any way he's going to hit 65 games.
Oh, you mean like this past year will have been? Was he all NBA this
No, he
past
was All
year?
NBA this year.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
gonna
so you're
say I
saying
thought
next
he
year will be
was.
the
Next year will be the first year I think he misses it. Even if he plays 60 and puts up 30 points per game again or whatever, I just don't see LeBron ever hitting
Yeah, it's
65
gonna be
games again.
hard.
let's say his minutes per game goes down. That's I think the biggest thing is not necessarily games played, but like how many minutes do you play in a game?
Are they
But
requiring a certain number of minutes?
I don't think so. I mean, like
Okay.
obviously you need to even have people want to vote for you. You need to have like you just
Yeah.
need to play enough.
You
to
also
rack
need
up.
a certain number of minutes, I think, to be in position for like points for like the points leader.
Yeah,
You need to
have
play the
minimum.
equivalent of like 70 games or something like that, or 65. That was always the case because that's part of why he lost to Embiid a couple years ago.
Because you didn't
Because he
qualify.
didn't. Yeah, because if you don't qualify on the number of games, like let's say it's 65,
It's got to be minutes.
and you only play 63, basically you're still divided. Like your numbers are still divided by 65 games, but that basically counts as having 2 games where you have 0 points per game scored. So that ends up fucking up your numbers. I'm not sure if that's the case for all NBA. I mean, it's voted on by the media, so I don't know why it would be. But
yeah, it wouldn't. Yeah.
Or if Mark Jackson is voting.
He'll just
yeah,
forget.
yeah. If Mark Jackson is voting and he's forgetting some of the best players of all time on his list.
That was
Crazy.
so funny. Like
He's such a
I
shithead.
forgot. Like I forgot. That's just like okay.
And then
can't be mad.
his excuse after that or before that was also like I thought I was making my
Oh, it was
all
all
NBA
NBA
list
on
or
his
something. And it was like,
MVP
but this isn't
ballot.
how the all NBA list is structured. And
Yeah.
they're on like different pages. And you also have to fill that in. It like all these other media personalities were like, that's not how this works. And like you've been doing this for years. So like you're biased. Like nobody wanted to say that it was like a racist thing from him, but like it probably was. Mark Jackson's a shithead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Modi, your thoughts on the Lakers next year?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I didn't realize how many free agents they had. I feel like I don't know. Like, is Schroeder going to get a bag? Like, we kind of know what Schroeder is. Like, he was good with the Lakers a couple years ago. Then he went to the Celtics, and then he was like bad for the Celtics, and then they got better when they traded him. And then I forget where he was this year before he went to the Lakers. But
I mean, unless he takes a discount, I don't see any way that Schroeder's not getting at least $18 million a year, and the Lakers cannot afford $18
you think he's really getting that much? Like, what was his
Yeah.
contract before this? Was it 18 million a year?
Well, the one that he was offered with the Lakers that he turned down was 86 million, I think, over 3 or 4 years. And he turned that down because he expected a bigger bag. And then he ended up not getting that. He ended up getting either a major league exception or the minimum.
Yeah, he got like a terrible deal for the Celtics.
Yeah. He bet on himself. It didn't go well. And I think he got the MLE. But I think his particularly since the money has gone up in those subsequent 3 years, I don't see any way that he's not getting high teens, low 20s, just on the fact that he can play starting point guard minutes and he can probably put up between 17 and 21 a game if you really need him to.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. I don't necessarily know if I agree with that because feel like we kind of know who he is. And like, it's one of the things. Like
I think it's going to be a bad choice for whatever team does
but
it.
Do you think that'll get it? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's going to be a team that thinks that a scoring guard is going to be the thing that takes them over the edge from 35 wins to 47 wins or something like that. You know, if the Magic weren't actually being intelligent with the way they built their rosters now, that's like a prime 2010s Magic move to overpay a guy like Schroeder and give him $20 million.
See Charlotte or Chicago.
Sure, Charlotte was also on my mind as somebody that's
Charlotte would be a good one.
Particularly if LaMelo is still having his injury issues.
Lonzo might never play again.
I did see that as well.
Yeah.
And that's just
awful.
Ball Brothers.
It's a bummer.
Yeah, I hate that. It's such a bummer.
Yeah.
Guy's so much fun to watch. Seems like a nice dude. Good leader for his team. When him and Caruso were both healthy on that Bulls team, everyone talks about how they like regressed to the mean or whatever. They regressed to their talent level. They didn't regress to their talent level. They just all got hurt. Caruso, Levine, and Lonzo together was just hell for so many teams to deal with.
If Ben Simmons was as good as Lonzo, that'd be amazing. Like,
yeah,
literally,
if Ben
that's
Simmons
like,
wanted to play as much as Lonzo wants to play.
If you wanted to play basketball, yeah,
because Ben Simmons, if he wanted to, would be better than Lonzo. But he's better athletically in basically every sense. And I mean, you know, he's got the back injury. Lonzo
just
has
like
the foot and knee
sometimes
injuries.
You can't always teach the playmaking ability, which I feel like both Lonzo and Ben Simmons like have, like with their passes. You just see the way that they can manipulate the floor, especially in transition. And that's where I think Lonzo was really good, was he was always pushing the ball and making great passes in transition. And
Magic Johnson said that Lonzo was going to be the greatest Laker since him. So, you know,
do you remember that press conference?
Didn't work out that way. All right, we can move on from the Lakers. I don't need to talk about them anymore. Let's move on to the Celtics, who lost Game 7 last night after mounting a relatively impressive comeback from being down 3-0. You know, obviously they were never supposed to be down 3-0. They were the higher seeded team. Everyone was calling them a finals contender this year. You know, they've got 2 All-NBA players. They have last year's Defensive Player of the Year. They have this year's 6th Man of the Year. They have one of the best front
flopper
offices.
Of the year. God, I hate Marcus Smart so much.
Yeah,
anytime a defender goes fucking flying, it's like, oh, who is that? It's Marcus Smart. It's like, and it's a fucking offensive foul.
Two things that we can safely say. Marcus Smart did not deserve his Defensive Player of the Year award last year. I think we already all agree on that.
Yeah.
And Jaylen Brown probably should not have gotten All NBA because he can't dribble a basketball. I don't care how many points he puts up in the regular season. You're not one of the 15 best guys in the league if you can't dribble. As bad as Tatum is sometimes, at least when he is not in his own head, he can dribble a basketball.
But technically the All-NBA is a regular season award, so it shouldn't matter.
Yeah, it should matter, though. It should, because we should not be able to continue seeing these guys fail in the playoffs and then say, you know, they did this in the regular season when half the league is not even trying to win.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, you can't, like, I don't know. The regular season has to mean something. You know what I mean? You can't be like, well, then LeBron's just going to win every award because he has the most playoff
Well,
success.
that's why it's going to have the games requirement now, because the regular season does have to mean something now for them to get it. Granted, we're probably going to see a lot of guys playing 66 games
exactly
just
60,
to get the award, just to be in contention for the award. But at least, I mean, that's better than playing 56 games. Like I'll take that upgrade for a lot of these guys. Yes, obviously the regular season has to mean something. He was very good in the regular season, but I'd really love to see and I mean, we talk about stuff like this all the time, an alternate reality where Jaylen Brown is on a different team that's not the Celtics, where he doesn't have Jason Tatum, where he doesn't have the incredible roster they have, where he doesn't have multiple good years of very good coaches. And does he get any votes for all NBA? Does he become an all-star? Like, does he get any of that stuff if he's on another team? Or is he just a chucker who has up and down defense over the course of the season? I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like both he and the Celtics need like a professional point guard. I think that was their biggest problem. Agreed. Like Chris Paul, even 4 years ago when he was like not as old as he is now, but wasn't quite like prime Chris Paul, or like a Rajon Rondo, just someone who could just run point guard and run normal.
Yeah, I mean, I bet they wish that they still had Rondo.
Yeah.
Even at his advanced age. I mean, that's what I thought Malcolm Brogdon was supposed to be.
Too.
And then they wanted him in a 6-man position, which I get because of the injury history. But I just don't know if Malcolm Brogdon at 25 minutes a game is the best usage of his abilities. And I mean, he did end up getting hurt in the playoffs. So
yeah,
maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that was him pushed to his limit. I don't know. I don't even know which professional point guards would be available. I mean, like get 2015 Ricky Rubio on that team.
Yeah.
Won't I mean, even try and score.
It's hard to a professional point guard is such such high demand that
they barely exist anymore. Everybody wants combo guards and scoring guards. You want a guard who can give you 22 a game on decent efficiency, but who's getting you an actual genuine 7+ assists a game. Like I don't want fucking dump off pass assists. I mean, as good as Westbrook is as a passer, we can all go back and watch those games. And a lot of Westbrook's assists are only assists post 2012. Like they wouldn't have been considered assists back in the day. You need somebody that can do what Chris Paul does, what Rondo does, what Rubio did, what LeBron does when he's assisting. Harden's another great passer. Incredible passer. Yeah. Really, really, really talented passer who gets genuine assists.
Yeah.
If you can get that without any of Harden's scoring touch, I would pick the Celtics to win the finals. I would.
It's that like Luka and Jokic have that to their game too, where they can elevate their teammates and like get their teammates involved and reward them for cutting. I think that's why the Nuggets are just so freaking good this year is they have so many options that they can go to. And like Aaron Gordon, like Michael Porter Jr., you see it when they're like struggling and not hitting their threes. They get those like cuts to the rim dunks that Jokic finds them, and that like builds momentum. It keeps them engaged in the game, and I think it like helps them so much. It's why their role players are playing well. But to the Heat Celtics, just watching that game last night, I didn't know that Tatum sprained his ankle at first, so I didn't see the beginning of the game. So I was just watching through, but like the Celtics had a chance in the fourth quarter to take that game, even back early before halftime to close it out. Like the Heat hit some big threes. I mean, Caleb Martin had a crazy game, but to start that quarter by like giving up a three, having Caleb Martin hit a three to like have 6, and then that Jaylen Brown dribble and like steal by Jimmy, like to go down 8 points immediately. Like the game was over with like 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and it was something I'd never seen before. And I mean, like if Tatum is hurt or whatever, like I don't know, you got to figure something out. Like and like Spo,
he was hurt last year too. I mean, is there an element of this being a Tatum issue?
It might be. I mean, everyone was like, well, you should have just tied your laces like LeBron and been all right. Like,
yeah, I mean, that's such an unrealistic expectation. He's like literally one of the most durable superstars we've ever seen. Probably the most durable superstar we've ever seen.
Just because how he ties his shoes. That's the only reason why.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on in those shoes, but they're incredible.
But it was crazy to watch the Heat. All of the Heat role players hit huge shots and step up. And I think like Spoelstra gets them ready. He calls a timeout when there was like any sort of Celtic run and the Heat looked sloppy, called the timeout, had the perfect play drawn up, and they got a bucket every time. Like
the Celtics would go on a 4-0 run and he would call a timeout. Like he was like, I'm not letting this get any bigger.
He's never ending a game unless they're dominating with leftover timeouts, which is something that exhausts me when I see coaches that are in close games and they
let's just let the team get a 20 run and like 20-0 run. Like, why?
I don't care what you're doing. If there's a run that's happening and you know that you can stop momentum and your guys look like they're out of sorts, you don't even need to make a lineup change. Like, you don't need to change anything. Just fucking bring them back for 60 seconds. Be like, okay, here's what we're running out of the timeout, and then get after it. If they don't hit the play, it is what it is. At least you drew up a play.
And you're going to get a good look, like, most of the time if it's executed.
Yeah, and unless you're playing the best defensive teams in the league, you're going to get a good look because you have the time to set your pieces.
When we go out on the court,
I mean, that's obviously like Spo. So he's better at this than everybody else is.
3 finals on his own too.
I mean, look, he's got Duncan Robinson playing like an NBA player again. After Duncan Robinson, who people were saying was the worst contract in the NBA and was unplayable, gave genuine good minutes in the Eastern Conference Finals and throughout the playoffs. And him rediscovering his 3-point stroke and running off screens and doing backdoor cuts and everything that he's doing has opened up the spacing for a Miami team that doesn't shoot well.
Yeah.
My favorite part of Game 7 was, I think Duncan Robinson either hit a 3 or he just scored and the Celtics called timeout, and then he did like the ear to the crowd.
he hit a backdoor cut and laid it in. And
it was like 92-77.
I tweeted at the time, I was like, when Duncan Robinson is beating y'all with backdoor cuts, game's over. I don't care what, we could be minute 1 of the first quarter, game's over.
It was so funny to me because like Duncan Robinson, who's been in a crypt for like 3 years, gets playing time in the series, and he's like talking shit in Game 7, which is like, by all means, I'm not judging him for that.
Please do. Please do. That's the Miami culture. Yeah, you need to talk shit at that point. You're gonna fucking bury them.
Yeah.
Watching Caleb Martin literally be able to do his thing and have the green light to do like Kobe-esque, Jordan-esque score, like Allen Iverson.
Did you see some of the moves he was pulling off? Like very
fadeaways. He had like the
on the baseline fadeaway. Yep.
Yeah. When someone, I think Griffin, you're like, I thought that was KD for a second, or you might have said that.
I said that
in the chat. Yeah. I was like, yeah, like that looks exactly like his shot on the baseline. Like he pulled everything out the bag, and it's like, damn, like some players surprise you with how skilled they are when they have the green light, and then others like Jaylen Brown disappoint you.
There was a point where Caleb Martin ran the baseline, caught the ball, had a defender on his hip and somebody else coming at his elbow, jab stepped 3 different times, spun out of it, passed the ball out, got the ball back, jab stepped 2 more times, twisted to the left and hit a fadeaway jumper. And I was like, that's Kobe Bryant. Like, that is literally like Kobe with 6 seconds on the clock, his entire sequence of events that he's going to go through. And this dude, Caleb Martin, who's no offense to him, but in the context of the NBA, he's a fucking nobody. He's doing undrafted shit like this on Jaylen Brown and on Jason Tatum and on Marcus Smart and on Al Horford. And he is looking like, of that group of people, the best player of the lot. And that's insane. But I mean, you know, the talent level in the NBA, some guys just need the opportunity.
You know who I think is overrated and not talented is Bam. Like, he's just athletic and he's good at defense, but he's the definition of no bag.
He does elevate it.
Bam has no bag. He's got a mid-range jumper that people really convinced people that he was a good shooter, but he's not.
And
he's a good shooter who doesn't shoot good.
And that mid-range jumper isn't even that good. It's like
it was really good in like 2020 and 2021.
It was the Anthony Davis bubble.
It's unsustainable shit.
Yeah, he's
look, I love Bam's defense. I love Bam's defense. He switched. People think he's a center. He's not. He's a power forward. He can switch 2 through 4 better than almost anybody in the league. He can do a little bit on a 1. He can do a little bit on the smaller 5s. But Jokic is going to fucking take his lunch money. He's going to just because he cannot deal with the guys that are bigger than him. And Jokic is significantly bigger than him.
Yeah, and I'm not even talking about defense. Like, he's amazing defensively, but on offense, like, they'll run him in the post, and I'm like, this guy's got nothing. Like, he has no moves. He's got no, like, even Embiid.
Dude, it bothers me how soft he goes up on a lot of shit. Like, he does
like
stuff.
Ayton.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of DeAndre Ayton. And the thing is, I genuinely think if you switch those 2 players, their teams might be better. I could
Yeah,
see
I
a
can see
world
that.
where
I
Aiton
can
is
see
better
that.
on the Heat, and he's got people that are in his ear
If
teaching
he
him to be
buys
a
into the
fucking dog.
I
culture.
was gonna say
Yeah,
Jimmy Butler might kill him like he did
he
Karl
might
Anthony
kill him,
Towns.
or he might make him better.
Yeah,
Like
it's one of the two.
that was the same thing we went through with Karl Anthony Towns. It was like he might kill him, or he might make him better. In the NBA context, he killed him.
Yeah,
But DeAndre Ayton's a little bit earlier in his career. There's still time to fix this dude. And then you put Bam on Phoenix. That hides a lot of their defensive issues that they have. Aiton's offense is good for his position, but
he's
you
got a
don't
bag.
need more offense on the Suns.
Yeah.
Like, you've got guys that are going to give you the offense. I'm not giving the ball to DeAndre Ayton very often to run a play if I've got a healthy
Devin Booker,
Chris Paul, or Devin Booker, or Kevin Durant. Like,
Yeah.
switch
That's a
these
good-
two guys. Let's just do it. Let's just do it.
Yeah,
But I mean, Bam would say no. Bam would want to stay on the Heat, I'm sure.
And
I was
he's
gonna say-
perfect for Heat culture. He just
Yeah.
his offense is he's got nothing. He's got no bag on offense. It's
it
so
was
frustrating.
painful in the game last night where like, yeah,
In
like
game
so many
six.
times it would be like
Game six was
he-
cripplingly upsetting.
But even
Yes.
game 7 yesterday, like it took, that's what I was saying. It took a lot of like bailout shots. Like right as the Celtics were chipping away, it'd be like a 3 that it was like a Jimmy Butler fadeaway 3 that he hits. And it's like his 3rd attempt of the game from 3.
Mhm.
Or like, Caleb Martin just being insane and hitting a 3 that I didn't expect. But like
Yeah.
anytime it got from like Jimmy to Bam and it worked to Bam with like 3 seconds, even when he had a mismatch, he would throw up a shot and you're just like, oh, come on, like get the lucky bounce to go in. That's
Yeah.
the only shot it's got. Like it's
I've got to admit,
pretty
I've really been
broken,
a
yeah.
Bam truther for the past few years, being like, this is going to be the year that he breaks out as an offensive threat. Like, this is going to be the game that he breaks out. I'm not seeing it. Like,
Yeah,
I love watching him play defensively. And I think he's such a big part of this Heat team. And they're not here without him, obviously, because they've made their name on defense the past couple of years.
all big men need that
But-
spin move.
Jesus Christ, dude. Some of the fucking layups that I see him miss, or potential open dunks that he doesn't take, and he tries to either lay it up or pass it out to a 3-point shooter. And it's like, man, you're up 2. That 3 is not going to be significantly better value than you just dunking the ball right now. Like, he does Ben Simmons shit sometimes, and it infuriates me.
Yeah, he is
Granted,
a good.
I'm sitting on my couch.
Well, yeah, you're not an NBA player, so
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, he's got a little bit of Draymond to his game in terms of like running the floor. He's like a pretty
Sure.
decent passer in the open court.
I think he's a good passer. Yeah.
Yeah, it's specifically as a scorer. He's so lacking in any type of footwork and like jump shot and like anything he can do to get to the rim. And he doesn't have a mid range. Like I just find him so just horrific to watch on offense when he's not.
His
just running
handles
the lane.
aren't as terrible, like running the floor too. I think there was like moments.
I think
at the end of the
he's
game-
really good running the floor. Once he gets within like 16 feet, shit
Yeah.
really falls apart, and
He
he gets
has
his
the
pocket
Embiid-
picked a lot.
The Embiid problem where he's like you can because he has a tall dribble. So when you're
Yeah.
in the post, it's really easy to poke it out. Which is Embiid has the same problem.
Yeah, a much
Mhm.
smaller man, Jaylen Brown, also has a tall
Yeah.
dribble. So get that shit under control, dude.
Yeah,
I mean, let me tell you, look, as a Lakers fan, as a Wizards fan, and I'm sure as a Philly fan and as a Brooklyn fan, last night was ecstasy for me.
Oh, the pictures.
If I could put them losing in a pipe and smoke it, I would do it every day of my life.
Bill Simmons.
If I could have sex with it, I would.
I will give Bill Simmons a lot of credit. That man walked home with his dad at like midnight, recorded a pod immediately, and got it out by like 1 a.m. when he was probably like ready to cut out his own heart. And his dad's like in his 70s or maybe 80s. The fact that he like Portnoy's not doing shit like that.
Oh, Bill Simmons is at least a grinder, and he doesn't hide.
Yeah. Bill
I'll give
Simmons
him
was
that.
like, this is content. I'm going to make content.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'll give him his credit. He's been pretty out on the Celtics team this year. Like even when they were like trending towards the 1 seed, even when they were doing well in the playoffs and stuff. And I mean, they were never doing that great, but they did okay. He's always been like, this team is fraudulent.
I remember he tweeted out in like February. Like, I don't think people realize how dire this season is for the Celtics. It was like pretty early on. Yeah.
And he and is it Mike? I think it was Mike Schur that did like Parks and Rec and all that other stuff. And The Office and The Good Place. Mike Schur came on the pod a few months ago, and he's the one that started that whole thing about the zombie heat. And like Simmons kind of adopted that as his thing too, because he was like, yeah, I can see what you're talking about. And Simmons has been heavily in on the Heat when Russillo has been pushing back constantly and being like, no, the Heat are not good. And at this point, Russillo, like, that's a bad take.
The worst offense
made
in
the
the regular
finals.
season. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, nobody. Look, very few people could have expected this. Very, very few. I did see one ESPN writer had predicted Nuggets Heat before the season started.
I saw that.
He changed his picks though, apparently.
He changed his picks, and then I think like a week later he said he regretted it, but he wasn't going to do it again. But credit to that guy. Credit to the Heat. Credit to Heat culture. Credit to Pat Riley. Credit to Eric Spoelstra. Jimmy Butler. Good to see him back in the finals. Glad to see the Celtics lose.
I think it's going to be another L for Jimmy, though.
I think they're going to lose in 5.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. Let's just jump right into it with the predictions.
Yeah,
you think they're going to lose in 5? What about you, Frantinos?
I predicted that the Nuggets would win in 5 last series. I'm going to say the same thing again, but I would not be shocked if it's a sweep. And
see, I would be shocked if it's a sweep. Eric Spoelstra has been swept one time in his career, and I was looking this up before we started, and it was that 2021 loss to the Bucks, where the Heat looked like they didn't even want to play basketball anymore. They were coming off the bubble.
Yeah, Jimmy Butler, I thought, was hurt that series because he had an awful.
He has never said that he was hurt, but I think the general consensus is that he had to have been. I mean, he had the worst shooting splits of his career, the highest turnovers of his career. His usage rate fell off a cliff. Like basically everything that could have gone wrong for Jimmy Butler went wrong in that series. And we've seen essentially a similar Heat team and Bucks team match up, and that didn't go the same way.
Yeah.
But Giannis,
that's the only time Spo's been swept in his career.
Yeah, he also had LeBron James for 4 years, and then he had Jimmy Butler, and they made the playoffs one year against the Sixers and they lost in 5. They won game 1, or they won game 2 and they lost in 5. So it's like he like Steve Kerr hasn't been swept in his career, but it's like, well, when you have incredibly talented, you know what I mean? Like I think that's
Spo has been at it for twice as long as Kerr, but yes, I do accept the point.
Yeah, that's all. I mean, I don't think they're going to get swept, but like the worst.
Yeah, I mean, you said in 5. That's right now. I'm wavering between 5 and 6. Like I'm thinking, is there a possibility that the Heat can pull 2 amazing games out of their asses and Bam can have a game where he goes for like 30 and 15? I don't think there is. So I'm going to say Nuggets in 5 as well. I think the Heat probably win game 3 when it comes back to Miami. And I wish it was going to be a little bit more competitive, and I'm sure the games are going to be entertaining. Like that is something that I think there's going to be some dog fights in there. And we're probably going to see at least one rock fight where neither team scores all that well. And it ends up with like Jokic finishes with like 21 points. Aaron Gordon finishes with like 15 on 6 of 15 shooting or something like that. We're going to see some offensively troubling performances.
I don't know about that. So the Nuggets still had an offensive rating of 124 against the Lakers. And the Lakers are supposed to have been like the best defense that they had faced. And like they even had the Tony brothers and Scott Foster against them too. Because Jokic did not get touched on that one foul.
Go look at the offensive rating and how it drops when D'Angelo Russell is not on the floor. And it changes. I mean, I'm telling you, D'Angelo Russell, his minutes so heavily shaped the way the advanced statistics went for that series. Granted, the Nuggets were still very, very good.
But I was going to say, it might just be one sub that the Heat have too. Like, I just think everything's been thrown at the Nuggets. And
is Tyler Hero coming back?
Game 3.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh,
they said that's his target.
I mean, good for him that he's at least going to get to play in the finals again.
I think
he's going to lose, but.
Game 1 is where I see the Heat winning because it's an unknown.
In Denver.
Come off just the Heat have played sooner. I think like you could argue that like too much time off is a bad thing. It'll be the first time they see them. There could be some rust from the Nuggets, but like I think that's it because with Jokic and Murray, like I just think there's way too much. I think Jokic on his own could probably carry the Nuggets to a sweep.
Well, we've already seen that Jokic on his own cannot carry the Nuggets to a sweep.
Against this Heat, though, that's different than against any of the Western Conference teams that he had to go through before. I think this is crazy that like
I don't know.
The Celtics, Sixers.
I think we might be underrating the Heat a little bit at that point. But I mean, you might be right. Yeah. You know, this Nuggets team, even if you get rid of Jamal Murray, is probably the best iteration of the team since 2020. 2021 lost year, 2022 lost year.
Aaron Gordon and Bruce Brown. Like Bruce Brown is amazing. I can't believe that
he's going to be a big loss for them. because I
because
think
he's getting the
he's gone
bag.
after this year.
KCP as well. He'll be.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
KCP's been
big for
killing
them.
it.
Yeah. I mean, these really switchable guys that are like under 6'8", that can shoot the three, that can defend 1 through 3. That, I mean, Bruce Brown never played with LeBron, but KCP playing with LeBron like knows all the spots on the floor that he needs to be to impact the game in the best way. It's a very talented Nuggets team, and it's weird to talk about them as like an all-time great team, which some people are doing, because they
I
only
saw
won
Bill
53
Simmons did.
games.
Yeah.
They didn't dominate the regular season, but they also didn't need to, because nobody in the West dominated the regular season. Nobody in the East dominated the regular season.
Yeah, the Bucks went on like that 16-game win streak or whatever, and that kind of like just vaulted them into the top seed.
Yeah, and then they basically, I mean, they did the same thing the Nuggets did kind of towards the end, as they kind of rested down the stretch a little bit. They probably could have gotten closer to 60 wins than they did. But it's crazy to talk about this team as maybe one of the best offenses ever when, and again, we talk about the regular season. They didn't look like, they looked like it in moments in the regular season, and then they took off March and April. They just didn't care.
Jokic took off March and April.
Yeah.
Remember how
So their best player took off March and April.
Yeah.
And they still ended up going, I think, 500 in games that he was like not giving a shit about, or even the ones that he wasn't playing.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at their playoff run, they've lost 3 games, and 2 of them were when KD and Booker combined for 80 points. Like if that's what it takes to beat the Nuggets, and that was in Phoenix, like the Heat, they don't have 2 players. They don't have 1 player who can do that. Maybe Jimmy, but like since game 1, Jimmy really hasn't.
Caleb Martin.
That. I mean,
Caleb Martin's going to go for 42 on 80% from the field.
Caleb Martin was incredible. He had 24 points. Like that's the standard.
That is incredible for a guy.
Incredible for him.
Yeah.
That's why for everyone saying that he should have been Eastern Conference Finals MVP, he definitely played.
He should not have.
Yeah, he played above his expected level more than anyone else, but like it was because Jimmy Butler had a good or bad game.
Jimmy Butler had 4 games where he was essentially the best player on both teams, and coincidentally the Heat won those 4 games. Like Caleb Martin, this doesn't happen without Caleb Martin. The Heat don't even exist at this point without Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, if the award was who played above their expectation, sure, then we can give that to Caleb Martin.
Yeah. Who played below it? Kyle Lowry and his big ass contract and his big ass.
He did hit a nice fadeaway jumper yesterday, though. I was like, oh man, everything's so falling. It was like a bailout.
Yeah,
like
you know,
jumper.
even when the dudes who are washed, like when everyone's hitting their shots, it's like, all right, wave the white flag a little bit. Like Kyle Lowry's hitting his jumpers.
God doesn't want the Celtics.
When Haywood Highsmith is picking the pocket of Jason Tatum in Game 7, you know it's not your night.
Yeah, a guy who sounds like he's a D&D character.
He was a former Sixer. He was on one of their G leagues.
I recall
Haywood Highsmith. Yeah.
I know a lot of these guys on the Heat. I think Caleb Martin, was he on the Hornets, or is it
Hornets?
Yeah.
They were both on the Hornets. Yeah.
Yeah. There's some castaways that have really made a name for themselves this run.
Yeah, I mean, like pretty much all of them, aside from Hero, Jimmy, and Bam, like came from nowhere. I guess Lowry they signed, but like Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, Caleb Martin, Duncan Robinson, like all undrafted. Yeah. And then there's like Kevin Love and Cody Zeller, who were highly drafted, but aren't really playing that big of a role.
Kevin Love, recent acquisition. Kevin Love has never not made the finals when he's gone to the playoffs. Is that what they said?
That's kind of nuts.
He's made the playoffs 5 times. And he's gone to the finals 5 times.
Yeah, I mean, I guess every year with the Cavs.
Yeah, 4 years with the Cavs, and then this year, because he hasn't made the playoffs in his career otherwise.
That's crazy.
To the point earlier about that I'm saying that Miami could win 2 games over their past 10 games, which, and really it's going to be over their past 8 when Butler joined the Heat. Over their past 10 games, Denver's 9-1 against Miami. Yeah. Since Butler joined, they're 8-1.
Like
there's really not that much you can say to that. Like,
and
that's a
the
run
point
of
disparity
dominance.
is like 115 to 101. Like
I
saw that graphic on ESPN. I think
the one game that the Heat won, I think they won like 125 to 105. A lot of these games are like 110 to like 98 or something like that. Like, most of them have not been high scoring affairs. I don't think the Nuggets have necessarily needed them to be high scoring affairs. Jimmy and Bam honestly have pretty good averages against the Nuggets. Obviously, so do Jokic and Jamal Murray. And honestly, Aaron Gordon is 4-0 against the Nuggets since or against the Heat since
Against
joining the
the Heat.
Nuggets. And
He hates Florida now. All of Florida.
his plus minus against them is like incredible. He's got a combined across those 4 games plus minus of plus 42. So he crushes them.
The Nuggets also just don't lose at home. So like
they don't.
And so that's my thing. And like the Heat home court advantage really didn't exist really in the Celtics series.
They were very average at home. I think they were during the regular season, they were a couple games over it. During the playoffs, I think they were maybe a couple games over it.
I mean, in the 7-game series against the Celtics, they won 1 game at home, game 3.
Yeah.
And they lost every other home game. So like that, I mean, that's
my favorite, because that means that vaunted Celtics home crowd. And they finished below 500 at home, I think, for this playoff run. I'm pretty sure they finished below 500.
Off the top
They
of
were,
my head,
I think, like 10-11 going into game 4 against the Heat. So then they ended up losing one. They may have finished at 500, actually. That's not good.
Yeah. I mean, last year was the same weird thing where the home team like never won in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, the Celtics have been bad at home for a couple of years now. And I mean, part of that is that they were playing the Warriors, who were incredible on their home court.
It was the
and incredible
tension.
away last year.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Maybe it's because their fans are yelling racial slurs at their players.
Could be part of it. I'm not gonna rule it out. I mean, look, we're all in agreement. The Nuggets are gonna take this.
They're a wagon.
It'll be funny if we end up being super wrong and we come back and we record next week and the Nuggets are down. Like
Jimmy Butler did it again.
They're down like 1-2 or something like that, and we'll be like, all right, at that point, I'm picking the Heat to win. If the Nuggets go down at any point in the series, even if it's 0-1, I'm picking the Heat to win.
Somehow Tristan Thompson is on the Heat with Dwight Howard, and
who's the other one?
JaVale
McGee. Yeah. God, I should remember him. Former Wizard.
Yeah, Laker.
3-time champion, I'm pretty sure. JaVale McGee.
Yeah, with the Warriors.
Twice
Lakers. The Warriors and once the Lakers.
Oh, it was twice with the Warriors?
I think so. I think
he was good on those Lakers
17 and 18.
Too. I remember him.
He was. JaVale McGee's a good player.
He carved out like a good career post Shaqtin' a Fool.
He always get those alley-oops, and he was good on defense.
And if he didn't have somebody in front of him, he could run the floor, and he could sometimes like. That's the thing about JaVale McGee. If JaVale McGee was in the body of a man who's 6'5", I genuinely think he would still be a good NBA player, but he's just too long and gangly for what his brain wants to do, and bad shit happens. And he gets he gasses out before the game is over.
He's Shaqtin' a Fool too often.
Yeah, he is. Anything else you guys want to talk about? We're taking the Nuggets. Spo is kind of, Malone is 33-30 as the coach of the Nuggets in the playoffs. Spo.
Nick Nurse is the coach of the Sixers now.
Yeah.
I don't think we talked about that.
We'll talk about that. Once we get through the finals, we'll talk about all the coaching changes because by then Phoenix should have a new coach. Who else are we looking for?
The Bucks signed Adrian Griffin, who I to be honest, I can't name a single thing about that. I don't know anything about him.
His son's on the Hawks.
Peter Griffin's cousin, I think.
His son AJ is on the Hawks. I know that.
The guy from Duke? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's his kid.
Zach Lowe mentioned it for like 5 minutes on the podcast. More so just saying like props to the Bucks for not just being like, all right, what retread head coach can we hire? Like at least
what retread or what internal hire can we do that really probably doesn't deserve it?
Yeah.
I'd be calling Mark Jackson. Who else are we?
So Philly has it. Raptors still need one? Raptors. Did they hire somebody?
I can't remember. I don't know. They might.
I think I remember us talking about who they were interviewing with Elliott, but I don't think we talked about them hiring.
Well, they were interviewing, but they were interviewing basically the same people the Bucks were interviewing, I think, outside of Nurse, obviously.
I wonder if JJ.
I know somebody mentioned that they were going to interview Steve Nash. I don't know if there's any truth to that. I don't know if that makes sense. But hey, give him another shot. I don't know.
Let's see, Raptors.
Steve was done dirty by the Nets.
Yeah, he's done dirty by your team.
Raptors do not have a head coach yet.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll have a couple more coaching announcements to talk about once we get through the finals. I imagine those will probably come in the next couple weeks. And then, we're going to have a lot of off-season content where we're going to talk about free agency. We're going to talk about, just like we did prior to this season, we're going to do our over-under rankings for the season right before we get going. We'll probably talk about the draft a significant amount because there's such a major top 3, but really top 5 or 6 in this draft that I think are going to be immediate contributors. And we'll have more, and we'll be back next week. We'll talk about the finals. We'll be, I think, 3 games in at that point, so we'll have a lot to talk about. Hopefully, neither team is 3-0 at that point, because that'll be kind of boring.
Unless we get another team wins.
Unless it's Heat 3-0, in which case,
yeah,
that'd be hilarious. That'd be amazing. I don't even know at that point. Like, give Jimmy.
I think they would actually blow it though if they go up 3-0 again. I could see the Nuggets getting 4 in a row.
They bring Tyler Hero back, and he just turns the ball over a million times over the course of 4 games.
The Pistons also need a head coach, which I'm not shocked that we forgot about that.
They fired Dwayne Casey?
Yeah. I mean, I Googled head coaching vacancies, and they came up. So
they won like 18 games. So I'm not thinking about the Pistons very much these days. I don't know if my buddy Ian listens or watches this pod, but I think I told you guys this. He and I had bet. He bet that they were going to win 35 games this year. And I said if he won that, not only would I dedicate money to his charity of choice, but I would also send him money. And if I won, I just said, I'll just donate money to my charity of choice. By February, he had lost the bet. With 2 months to go in the season, he had lost the bet.
In fairness, Cade Cunningham was hurt. They definitely were going to go over if Cade didn't get hurt.
You think they were going to go over 35?
No, I'm joking.
Oh, okay. All right. I think if Cade doesn't get hurt, we're looking at maybe 28 to 30, but maybe.
No,
that's kidding. A maybe.
Yeah, no, I'm kidding. There's no way that team was winning 30.
There was no universe they were winning 35. And charitable contribution. Let's do it.
And their win total wasn't even 35. So that guy just gave you a gift.
No, it wasn't. It was 28 and a half, I think.
Yeah.
He's trying to use his misery to fuel something good in this world,
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe his Lions will be good this year. Who knows? We will be back next week, probably around this time. Yeah, that's it. Like I said at the beginning of the show, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And if you're listening to us on an audio platform, follow, rate, review, share us with a friend. Like I said, a lot of fun off-season content we're going to do. We're going to be reworking parts of the show so that we have much more fixed, not necessarily topics, but things that we're going to talk about every week, so that this is a little bit more organized and a little bit more clippable and all that fun shit. So we're looking forward to it. And if you are watching or you are listening, we appreciate you tuning in and following along so far this season. We're 2 weeks from the end of the season. We've been doing this for a full year. Feeling good about it.
Hell yeah. It's been fun, boys.
Well, sad that the season's almost over.
I also am excited I'm excited that the season's almost over. I need a break. I'm summer league basketball is going to be my reset. All right. We will see you guys next time.
Peace.